All righty, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. I hope everybody had a great Memorial Day weekend and you were able to do something meaningful over the weekend. My name's Tyler Clary. I'm the director of, I am the director of sales and marketing at Fitter and Faster Swim Tour. I've got my friend Clark Smith here. Clark, are you there? Hey, buddy. Yeah, so obviously, we're here, we're online. You guys have seen the title of the webinar. Thank you for coming back to another edition of hashtag FFT Live presented by Fitter and Faster Swim Camps. A couple of things before we get started. One, I'd like to know where you're from and how old you are. I'm really curious to know the age of the crowd here. And also, I want to let you know about a giveaway that we're actually doing at the end of the webinar. Make sure that you stick around until the end of the webinar. We're going to be giving away a free Spiky 2 backpack from Arena. So make sure you stick around till the end and you'll get a free awesome backpack. Thank you, Arena, for that. Again, we've got Clark Smith with us here today. He's going to be going through what our online freestyle stroke technique classes look like. From what I've been hearing and some of the feedback that we've been getting, he's been absolutely killing it. So Clark, tell us a little bit about yourself and some of your experience and accolades as a swimmer. Oh, for some reason you're muted. Try to turn your audio on again. Still got no audio. Go ahead and close your window and then reopen the link and we'll see if that fixes your audio issue. So interesting, because this is, we were actually literally just chatting before this whole thing started and his audio was fine. So sometimes this stuff goes weird. But that being said, a couple of things that I want to chat with you about. So this past weekend, we actually had our first clinic outside of quarantine down in Atlanta, Georgia, and it went really, really well. We had a lot of people there. But of course, we were making sure that we were adhering to social distancing guidelines. And I think we have Clark with us now. Can we hear you? I can hear you perfectly now. Glad you're here.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. But I was just telling people about the clinic that we had this past weekend. And like I said, it went really well. And we're starting to do more events. I believe we have 9 or 10 events, clinics that we're actually doing in the month of June. So definitely go over to our website at fitterandfaster.com and click that button that says Find Swim Clinics, and you can look up your city, and it'll show you the closest clinics near you, and you might be able to get to a clinic and swim with us maybe sooner than you thought. So to get back to our original plan, Clark, tell us a little bit about yourself as a swimmer, where you're from, some of your experience and accolades.
Yeah, so I swam at the University of Texas. I come from a family of swimmers. Both my parents swam at the school, so I share a lot of the same experiences with my family, and it's always been a part of my life. I was lucky enough to swim for a great coach down there named Eddie Reese. I was recruited as a sprinter, swam distance in college, and I made the Olympic team in the 200 freestyle, so I have a good range of distances in the stroke, and a lot of feedback I feel like I can give, and some tips and tidbits that are usually left out when being taught with that stroke in specifics. So I feel pretty qualified to be able to give a lot of feedback on that stroke in particular.
Well, and having worked with you myself, you clearly very much what you're talking about. And obviously, if you didn't, we wouldn't have you doing these classes at all. But it's very clear, from someone like me who's done a lot of clinics. I don't know exactly how many. I think it's up above 200 now. But for someone who's worked with a lot of other clinicians and have been doing this for a long time, you can tell very clearly who knows what they're talking about and who's kind of making it up as they go. And you're definitely not in that latter group. And it's interesting to me because, the best swimmers in the world aren't necessarily some of the best coaches in the world. And for you, you're one of the best swimmers in the world, and you happen to be one of the best clinicians that we have as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing a little bit more into how you run your online stroke classes. And without further ado, let's get right into it.
Yeah, so each class essentially has 8 segments. Each one is roughly, around 30 to 40 minutes in length. 30 minutes for, the curriculum itself, and then, 5 to 10 minutes for questions if anyone has any, and just kind of one-on-one. Sometimes I'll pick someone out, ask them questions, see if they're paying attention, or if someone wants, some, feedback individually, or if they feel like they're having trouble with, a specific facet of what we're going over. It's something I feel like we can spend time on towards the end. There's private, 10-minute sessions that go along with that. So the initial session, it's an introduction, what's your name? I give you my contact information, and then from there, if you're interested, for the second, private one-on-one session, I know I like to have someone, send me a video of their stroke, and I can reply and give them some feedback, some technical advice. And if they want to, use that second session, we can split screen and look at their stroke and just kind of go over with the mouse, pieces of the stroke that we think we can work on, pieces that they're doing great on, and, some parts that, they may not be aware of that they need to, kind of fine tune. So,
well, and that's interesting because swimming in general, I feel like is one of those sports where you get really small amounts of actual visual feedback. Like it's not one of those sports where you can sort of watch. Obviously, I guess in a lot of sports you can't really watch yourself, but in most other sports, I feel like it's really easy to get video or to watch somebody else do exactly what it is you need to do. And it's more difficult to do that in swimming. So to have something like this where you can actually send in video of yourself, and not only that, have a world-class swimmer critique you and gives you some things to work on, like that's a really big deal, especially right now.
It's definitely, one of the benefits of this online class versus a clinic, because if you really want to, I can help you, one-on-one with really anything regarding your stroke. And I break the class down in several ways. So each class is a theme. So, section 1 was like body and head position, and the theme would be stability. So being able to hold your body in line and how that relates to your body and your head position, what effects they have correlating to each other, and so on and so forth. I think today I'm working on, hips and core. So rotation is the theme of the day. And I just kind of branch off from there and break it down, piece by piece from there on. And something else that I do is I tend to, talk about how the stroke differs from sprint to distance freestyle. So you remember I said I was recruited as a sprinter and then did distance in college. So I kind of break down, how, like, for instance, your recovery is going to be different in a distance race, versus a sprint race. So if you're swimming a long event, you want a high relaxed forearm, putting it in gently. If you're sprinting, you can bring that arm out a little further at the end of your catch and come down to the side. Just piece by piece, kind of, breaking down the details of what differs, because not everyone swims every single distance. Obviously, it's good, that you're not specializing in one event, but it's okay to, look in either direction to see what you're good at and, kind of give some feedback in that sort of sense. And then from then on, there's visualizations that we do. So today, for instance, I have a visualization for a drill, in relation of how your hips relate to your shoulders and your rotation. So like imagining that there are strings from, your shoulders to your hips. And as you pull, you extend that string. And as you recover, that string retracts, but you keep that string in line the entire time. So just being able to visualize, since you can't get in the pool, it's one of the ways you can kind of get a feel without actually being in the water, one way. And then throughout the course, we tend to go through a lot of videos. So I usually start off, with a sprint stroke and a freestyle stroke, just for distance and a cruise speed. So I'll pick out bits and pieces and kind of point out what I like to see, and just minor differences between the two. And one thing I'm utilizing that I really like is the Fitter and Faster videos that we have. There's an application that Fitter and Faster has that Tyler and I and several other clinicians did about 3 years ago or so.
Actually, let me put that up on their screen while you talk about it, so that they can check it out. But what was the name of it?
It's videos by Fitter and Faster. So you can type that into Google and then you log in. And essentially, it's just unlimited access to the, multiple clinicians for each stroke. So there's, drills for sprint, middle distance, and fly back breast free. It says all 5 strokes. So the 5th stroke would be underwater. It's pretty clever, and it's something I'm really utilizing now. And I think it's really paying off now, not only because of the volume of work and the quality that's on there, but also because the angles that it's filmed at are unlike anything I've seen as far as video footage underwater. So like today, what I really like to show for, hips and rotation is when you're kicking, you don't kick flat. There's a little bit of a rotation with the hips, so the feet aren't, just kicking just like this on the top of the water. So there's a shot behind me when I'm swimming that shows my feet and how they're rotating while I'm kicking and keeping balance within my stroke. And that's something I really like to show. And I think that's another bonus of the online versus in-person clinics, just because I can talk and also use my own demonstration and kind of show you at the same time what you should see and the feedback that you should be giving while it's being demonstrated. So definitely one of the plus sides and what I really like about teaching the courses so far. And this also brings up the point that the classes are pretty small and relative to like clinics and practices as well. So there's a lot more individual feedback. We can take a lot more time on specific areas people are having trouble on. So if I'm getting more questions on one area, I can spend more time on there. Whereas a clinic, if there's 30 to 40 people, you spend an equal amount of time on each and give as much feedback as you can. But you eventually have to move on and get through everything. Whereas this, if everyone feels like they have a certain skill nailed, we can focus somewhere else in that discipline. And I really just like being able to just break down in just segments. So I'll spend a section working on the recovery for sprint, recovery for distance, and so on and so forth all the way through. And I'll do that for every single section as well. So that's something I've really liked about the clinics thus far.
And real quick, just to interrupt you for a second, there are a couple of people asking, if this is a presentation or just a talk. So, this is more or less a conversation about what Clark's online classes are like. And if you want to see, more into what they're actually like, I suggest you actually go over to a web page that I'm actually linking to you right now. I just sent you guys the URL for that. So you can check out that link for all of our online swim courses. And specifically, if you're interested in freestyle, which is what Clark coaches, there's a second link that I just added. And you can check it out there. Chloe Nahone, I probably didn't pronounce that right. I'm sorry. It does cost a little bit of money, but typically not that much if you think about it, in terms of being able to work one-on-one almost with an Olympian and a world-class freestyler. Well worth the cost. You should definitely check that out. We're constantly putting out other courses, so keep checking back. Make sure that you're constantly checking this page out. And really, like a lot of times people will ask us when we come to a clinic, like, do you guys do private lessons? This is about the closest you can get to a private lesson with any one of our clinicians. So I highly suggest you check this stuff out. Fraser Scott, hi, I'm good. How are you? Anyway, go ahead, Clark. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted to make sure that those questions were answered timely.
Oh, and that was a good point to bring up too. And if you're interested in signing up, one thing to note is if you don't feel like you can make a certain time slot, because I know they're being scheduled at certain time zones. I think Eastern Standard Time is what they're scheduled on. That everything is recorded. So if you miss something, I send you the recording immediately. You don't miss anything. And if you have questions, you can just text me. I told all my swimmers that if you feel like you're just not understanding something from a lecture, they can just text me. Or if they're having struggling with something in particular, maybe not relating to their technique, but their swimming in general, they can text me. So I'm basically like, taking them under my wing for this 4-week course. If they need me whatsoever, I'm a swimmer full time, so outside of the water, I have a lot of time to give to these athletes, and I really enjoy doing it. I was going to go over, essentially a basic outline of what I normally do for a course. So today was, hips and core was the general focus, and rotation being the general theme. So I was just going to go over and kind of show you what a basic lesson would look like, minus the videos. I generally have lots of videos I go through and pick out piece by piece with the mouse what I like to see and what I don't like to see. One thing I generally like to do with, at clinics and even on these video sessions is show, examples of something you shouldn't do, because sometimes it's better to try to avoid something to get good technique than just focus on the things that you should be doing. Sometimes it can prevent you from overthinking in the long run. But just a basic start off, I'll start with an intro, I'll give some like basic facts, and I'll just talk about, what about the stroke and what it relates to like your efficiency and your distance per stroke and how that affects your overall performance. So today I was essentially going to go over is with great rotation in, from your hips and core, it's going to result in, riding higher on the water, getting more easy speed out of your stroke, and essentially relying less on your kick because your core is supporting your body and less so your legs. So that would be, you know, the main theme of our intro, and just getting into, you know, just basically like sprinter versus distance, you know, kind of how it relates to those two different eras of, you know, 50 to the mile. You know, sprinters tend to not rotate as much. So I'll go over, you know, how they swim slightly more flat on the water, but it's still important for the momentum to get, you know, hips turning just quicker than they would in, you know, a longer middle distance race. And then when you're swimming distance freestyle, you rotate more because you extend more out front, you get more, and they'll bring us into some certain drills that we'll do. And the drills will kind of focus on rotating on an axis, isolating that head, and really working on, you know, getting that full rotation, getting perpendicular to the bottom, over exaggerating movements to, you know, kind of get to the feel of what it feels like to rotate. Small changes feel huge in the water. So, you know, if you can really over exaggerate the movement, when you get back to swimming normal, you might come back with, you know, great technique, which is why we do drills. So I have, you know, 4 to 5 drills I'll go over on that end. And then I'll do some that are focused, you know, on sprint, and then some that are focused on, you know, distance swimming, and then some that will work for both. And then from there, I'll go on to, you know, dry land exercises. So since hips are being, you know, the driving force of your rotation, we'll talk, you know, about what core exercises you can do in particular that are going to help strengthen you outside of the water. For some specific facets that we've been working on in previous sections, I'll introduce like very light, you know, weight exercises you can do with a partner if you have them, and just getting the correct motions, you know, reminding the athletes that technique is more important necessarily than the amount of reps you can do. So I prefer them do fewer reps with great technique than doing as many as they can and wearing themselves out. And then just kind of, you know, utilizing that and talking about, you know, making sure you take care of your body. These will help strengthen you, you know, prevent you from getting injured, and so on and so forth through that end. And through that, when I do drills, I do a lot of visualization. So I'll have them close their eyes. And like I said, that puppet drill where they pretend they have those strings attached to their hips where they stretch and relax. That's something that can really help, you know, you're not in the water right now. And then towards the end, we'll go over just notes, overview of what we've done, and just kind of highlight some points that I think are pretty important in regards to what we're going over. And then questions towards the end. And sometimes the questions will, you know, take 5-10 minutes and go over. And that's probably my favorite part of the course because you can really individualize the feedback from there. But that's generally a basic overview of, you know, what a class looks like. And there's a lot of information in it. So you generally may want to have, you know, a pen and paper and write something down. And if, you know, you miss something, you just say pause, or, you know, can you repeat that again and interrupt me? I'm totally okay with repeating it. That's what I'm here for. So it's pretty individualized. It's not like, you know, I'm a teacher and very strict and I'm watching over everyone constantly. It's pretty relaxed and low key, and it's not very stressful. It's just an easy way to kind of, you know, improve your stroke, you know, during the quarantine when not everyone has access, you know, to a swimming pool right now.
Gotcha. No, and like I said, we've been getting great feedback, not only from your class, but from all of our other classes. And Sophia McCarthy asked, you know, do you talk about dryland training? And he does actually talk about some dryland exercises that you can do. There was also another question about the courses. Nathan asked, will the complete course be offered again, or can we start partway through? And the answer to that is yes to both sides of that question. So we're going to be offering these courses again once the current courses are over. But if you start partway through, we will actually give you the recordings of all the previous videos so that you can catch up. So it's kind of like, you know, learning at your own pace, right? So it's not like if you were to buy a ticket to one of these classes right now, you would only get half of the class. You'll still get the full bit of content. And yeah, so for the swim videos on demand, what is the
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me? Sorry, I froze on you.
Yeah, I can hear you. Somebody asked for swim videos on demand, does it cost money? Kaylee, you can actually do a free trial. So if you go over to swimvideos.net, I'll actually put the offer back up on your screen right now. If you go over there, you can actually check out a free trial subscription and see if you like it. And after that, there is a little bit of a cost, but I think you can get it for the whole year, and it's not that expensive. So definitely check it out. I'm going to put the links up on your screen one more time. And let me take the other one down. I accidentally clicked on it on myself. These are for the freestyle classes, and these are some of the courses that Clark actually teaches, so you should definitely check those out. This link is going to take you to all of our online swim programs. So we do dryland programs, we do yoga, obviously we do stroke. You should definitely look through here a little bit more, see if you guys find anything that you like. Clark, do you have anything final for us about the courses?
No, that's about it. But I do like to repeat, the swim videos, on demand that Fitter and Faster has is our best tool, and it's something that's exclusive to us. And I really think it's, something that can really help, any part of your stroke you need work on. There are drills that, I never heard of that some other clinicians perform that I thought were really cool, even in freestyle. So there's multiple clinicians per each stroke, and it's really something that's useful. Even if you don't want to, purchase it, it's something it's really useful if you sign up for these courses. So something to throw out there.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for that, Clark. Really quick, everybody, I'm going to flash another URL up on your screen. It's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a redirect URL, but I want to remind you that we're actually getting back to business and we're starting to do swim clinics again. I think you would be quite surprised at the number and the locations of some of these clinics. So go ahead and click on this link and make sure you venture on over there and look up your city and see if there are any clinics close by, and maybe you can get back in the pool with us super soon. So thank you very much, everybody, for your time. Clark, thanks for the little bit of time to talk a little bit about your course. I thought it was super interesting. Everybody stay safe, stay positive, and continue washing your dang hands. Bye.
Thanks for having me.